When?
Yes, myself.
What we going over today?
Finishing up the chapter in the Miracle Kit, and then open discussion.
Did you have a chance to look over that?
Yeah, I started on. I'm not finished yet, but I started on it. The the imagination thing
Yeah.
document. Yeah, I started on it.
I added some more stuff to it, so I sent it to you.
Yeah, I saw the second one. That's what I'm working on. The second one you sent.
Is that the second or third one? Is the second one?
I have two. 01 dash the eight components of imagination.
Yeah, I put a
2025 C. That
I
one.
put an introduction on it. You seen it?
Yes. Let me see. Yeah, the brief introduction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I use that speechify or that voice thing, and then I make the changes as I hear it.
Oh, I mean, you use it to write, or you write it yourself and then use it Speechify to read it back to you.
Yeah, it read it back to me, and then I had two screens open, and I make the changes as I hear it. I don't know if that'll help you, but it helps me.
Okay.
That way you're not overburdened so much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can stop, you can pause it and rewrite it, and but Speechify would tell you how long it's going to take them to read it.
Okay.
You could do it in intervals, you know. Like I think that one, the last time I looked at it, it was like 33 or 30 or 40 minutes or whatever
Mm-hmm.
to read it. The book, the 500-page book that's a 10, 11 hour book to read it on 1.1.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be back.
So were you saying something?
I said I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, let's go ahead and start today's session. Welcome, everyone. Go ahead. All right, so the sound's working. Let's open up with a prayer for spiritual workers, and then we'll dive into the material for today. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, aye, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right, welcome everyone to another installment of the study sessions, review and study session series of the 21 Lessons of Metaphysics, the foundation of mystic and yogic teachings. And again, that playlist is available on our YouTube channel where you can, something on my screen, sorry, where you can go back and look at those videos titled under the 21 Lessons of Metaphysics. Uh, we're going to go through those videos in turn, maybe not all of them, go through several of them, go through transcripts of the videos, present so many updated illustrations or diagrams that have been made since that series was originally given over 10 years ago, and as well as field any questions and comments you may have of the material on that. In case you were not able to attend back then, you have the opportunity to pose now or when we review respective classes. Today's session will finish up I think it's chapter 7 from the Miracle Kit, Find the Power of Prayer. We stopped last time on the nature of mantra, and we have a couple more sections in this text. I don't believe it'll take us all 2 hours or an hour and a half to finish everything that's remaining in the chapter. So once we finish a chapter, I'll open the floor to open discussion. So any questions or comments you have, um, please feel free to post them in the chat. Even as I'm reading through the material, you can do that as well, and we'll answer those for you. And then in the next session, since we're finishing up with the nature of mantra and finishing up with chapter 7 and the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer book, we will move into transcript of class 1 or continue with the transcript of class 1 because I believe we started with a couple of lines in the transcript and a couple of illustrations. So we'll continue with class 1 and then move throughout um, the series. And if as we're moving through the material in the series, I find additional write-ups or um, sources or books or texts that I feel can help expand the information that's being presented in the lecture, then I'll add that too, or I'll just make um, annotations and refer all of you to those sources. I'll make sure that they are available for everyone to be able to download. So namely, they'll be on the Mystic Knowledge website, for many of the books that we have available there, or from other sources that either easily available, either for purchase or for download as well. Okay, let's see what else here. And then as per usual, we continuing with our weekly 12 Blessings sessions through the Florida group of the Society. If you're interested in participating in those, as well as some commemoration services, we meet both online and in person. You can find us on meetup.com and look for the Society Florida. And there you will find our schedule for classes. Not classes, I'm sorry, schedule for services. And you'll be able to tune in via Zoom. Or if you prefer, you can also tune in with headquarters on their services as well, as they broadcast their services on YouTube. And most 12 Blessing services are available for even the public to participate in. Some commemoration services are also available for the general public, but you have the option of attending either with us online, the 12 Blessings, with headquarters, the 12 Blessings on Mondays, or at 12blessings.org. They have services every single day that you can participate in as well. Okay, that's it for announcements. Let me look at the chat window here and keep it open. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, Pod Songs. And Hadi, I didn't get reply in Gmail. Why? Okay, Hadi, let me help you out for a second. So, just as a preview, Hadi, this is the reply that Mr. Davis put together for you. We're working through it. As you can see, it's not a simple 1, 2 paragraph reply. It's a 25-page document. And I am going through it, making edits. And when this is complete and ready, um, we will send it to you. This is just a preview. Um, but Hardy, you and everybody else, you have to understand that we're volunteers. Mr. Davis and I, this is not our job. We're not our income from this. We work our full-time jobs. We have families, we have responsibilities, and we do the IMKC um, voluntarily as an act of service. So when we're able to, get to replies and get to everything, um, we do our best to do that. But you will have to be patient with us as we work through um, both our responsibilities in our lives as well as getting back to all of you with your questions and doing justice in our response. So, for example, um, this reply to your question on manifestation is an in-depth response. It's not a simple response. And yes, I do thank you for everything that we've asked you to do. You have done. So you went back and you listened to lecture by Dr. George King. You took the notes. I saw that. I read through the document. So Davis read through the document. And so that exchange of going back and forth allows Mr. Davis to do something like this, to put together this 25 document to give you um, allows um, the information that can help you to continue to grow. But it's not something that can be done immediately or rapidly. It takes time to put all of this together and for us to go back and forth with it and then to make sure it's ready for each person who has a request or needs more information to help them on their spiritual growth. Dr. George King talks about this a lot, that when you take upon a position of teaching or disseminating the teachings, you take a vow before God. And Mr. Davis, as you can see throughout the years, takes that position, takes that vow very, very seriously. All the material he's produced, um, all the classes and lectures he's given throughout the years, it is done with the utmost care and to the best of his ability with the limited resources that he's had, and never once um, asking for remuneration or payment. The only time that payment has been requested has been since I came along and trying to juggle all of these things together. It's the demands on Mr. Davis's time and on our time has grows as the channel has grown, as the classes have grown, as the student body has grown. So um, please be a bit more patient as we continue to do justice to the teachings and to help all of you to the best of our ability going forward. Um, if you would like to volunteer to help out, we would more than happy to accept your help. Um, but for the time being, with the limited resource we have, I ask that you be patient as we get these information back to you, respond to your questions, respond to your inquiries, respond to your requests for counseling, for healing, and so on and so forth. So no, don't think we forgot about you, Hari. No, we didn't. We do have your emails and everybody else's emails. We do see them. They do come in, and Mr. Davis does make his time um, working through them one by one, in addition to everything else that he has going on in his life. And so I do ask that everyone be patient and but still be forthcoming with your comments and questions. We will do our best to respond to them as time goes forward. So again, welcome everyone. For those of you who are just tuning in and joining, we are going over the last bit of chapter 7 today in the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer. And some of you had a question last week about where you can pick up a copy of Mr. Davis's book. Amazon. Oh, that's the wrong browser. So let me really quick show you where you can pick up the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer on Amazon. Oops. All right, so let me throw this up, share the screen real quick. So on Amazon, if you search for Mr. Davis, you will see his author page. And on his author page, you will see the two books that are currently published. The first being The Ancient Language of the Soul, The Mystic Knowledge of Mantra, and the second book, The Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, The Mystic Knowledge of Manipulating the Subtle Cosmic Energies of Prana Through Prayer Techniques. You can pick up a copy of these books, either digitally in Kindle edition or hardcover or paperback, as well as on our YouTube channel. I have a playlist where I read both of these books out in a sort of audiobook format. So you have the option of going to our YouTube channel and finding the books there and listening to me read them. Let me see if I can find them really quickly. Ah, yes. Okay, here they are. Let me 1 second, everyone. My channel playlist. Okay, so if you go to our YouTube channel and under playlist tab, you'll see here this playlist series called The Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer and Study Session series. The Study Session series is a reading of the Ancient Language of the Soul. And during those readings, we also had a Q&A session with the author to expand on some points and to pose any questions that we had. And then continuing with that study session series, I started reading the 14 lessons. I plan on going back and finishing this study session series where we just read through text and in an audiobook format, as well as um, do a Q&A session with Mr. Davis to expand on any points brought up in the books. This is also where I may do um, other books by Yogi Ramacharaka and other authors as well. And then we'll have this other playlist series, which is specifically dedicated to the Milky behind the power of prayer. So in this series, I think I read chapter by chapter in each class, as well as, let me close that. That shouldn't be playing. Had a Q&A session with the author to cover the material that was presented in the book. So you have a couple of options. You can pick up a copy of the book and read it on your own leisure. And any questions or comments you have, we'll be happy to answer those for you. Or you can come back to this playlist channel as well and listen to me read them, whichever you prefer. And also, any questions or comments you have, feel free to send them to us as well about the material. We'll answer those also. All right. So let us continue with chapter 7. And like I mentioned earlier, what's remaining will not take the entire session. So I do invite all of you to pose any questions or comments that you have, either throughout the reading or say in about 30, 40 minutes. I don't think it'll take me that long to read all of this. We'll just leave the floor open for um, open discussion. And then next session, we'll move into or resume the transcript for class 1 of the 21 Lessons series, Foundations of Metaphysics series. All right, so do we have any questions or comments before we begin? Okay, Donna, I do see your comments from Meetup. I hope you're able to join us here on YouTube. All right, let's continue on. The nature of mantra. Let me zoom in this a little bit more. Okay. Mantra is sound vibrations presented to the human race as Sanskrit letters, words and combinations of words, all expressing the will of God through its many names of God. All the sound comes from the first spoken word, from the superior being, the absolute God. The Sanskrit alphabet is 50 bits of sound vibrations from the first spoken creative word. This Sanskrit language was reportedly used to design vehicles of expression for the soul. It is said that mantra is the language used by the soul to bring the chakra components into manifestation. Excuse me. Mantra is embodied sound vibrations that has fallen or sunken deep into the vortex centers of power that brought forward subtle and gross manifestations of Shakti. The Bindu, which is the spiritual germ of consciousness, the I am, and the I, releases the nada wave that is pure, soundless sound. This nada wave moves forward and manifests the Shakti power out of the Shiva state of pure consciousness. The supreme nada wave expresses itself as Sabda, while manifesting the Shakti power into various forms and shapes of consciousness. After the Shakti is manifested, it falls into a samskara state of being that becomes embedded with the impressions of Shakti power signatures, mantras and seed mantras on the jiva, which is the embodied consciousness within the chakra. These Shakti signatures brought about by Sabda Shakti, or sound power, are described as the Sanskrit letters that express itself as bijas, petals or seed mantras, that are embedded in the chakras. In short, mantra is the mental impressions, samskaras of the soul. When men intone these mantras or sound vibrations properly, it has a natural magnetic pull on these embedded Shakti power signatures within the chakra system. This is where the great power of mantra resides within man. Constant recitation of the mantra by man moves the embedded mantras, embedded Shakti power signatures, out of a state of samskara consciousness into an active state of Shakti power. And the power of mantra begins to live in the practitioner, and the mantra yogi acquires the power to shape and mold subtle and gross Shakti power at will through the expression of the mantra. This Shakti power, brought about by the soul releasing a sound vibration, moves to engross itself in order to build vehicles of expression that the soul consciousness can work through. This is done through sonic vibrations that produce synchronizing frequencies that organizes the mind substance and cosmic energies that move forward to manifest the human structure. This is performed by the synchronized Shakti power traveling down through Sushumna, the subtle inner core of the spinal column, as a united Shakti power. This Shakti power reaches the equilibrium point at the end of its descent through Sushumna. This is where the Shakti power moves into a 3.5 energy configuration that brings about a dormant state of Shakti power, which is called Kundalini. This 3.5 coiled energy configuration blocks the doorway of Sushumna, creating a magnetic flux that forces Shakti to divide itself into a static Shakti force and a dynamic Shakti force. This is the point where the Shakti power moves from a whole state of being to a state where it becomes a not whole state of consciousness. At this level, the coiled Shakti power is called Kundalini. It is here where it releases the Pada sound that manifests itself into the three other aspects of sound that holds consciousness into manifestation. The Sanskrit sound vibrations that were used to formulate the frequencies of cosmic energies and mind substance through the points of consciousness, Bindu, within the chakra system, move forward and created the etheric structures, levels of consciousness, mental bodies, subtler bodies, astral bodies, and the physical body. Therefore, all Sanskrit mantra represents the consciousness of man and has a unique ability to shape and mold mind substance, prana, and matter. Kundalini, a vehicle of consciousness. Kundalini is a pure sound vibration, which is an aspect of the conscious will of God being expressed as Shakti consciousness. It also represents the true manifested consciousness of the soul. Therefore, Kundalini shapes and molds mind substance and pure cosmic energies, Shakti. Now, let me say that mantra is a power source, a sacred power source. Now, what does this mean? Mantra is a sound vibration which is manifested, sorry, mantra is a sound vibration which is a manifested form of Shakti power, invoked by consciousness and can be harnessed to be used for good or bad. Just as Kundalini is a form of consciousness manifested as sound and light, which all three aspects of it are inseparable, it is also the one source of power. But it also is subject to be used for good or bad. Mantra is manifested by and through consciousness as sound. To understand this, we must have some knowledge of the science and philosophy behind mantra. The Sanskrit letters represents unmanifested sound, potential sound, or the potential desire to manifest sound. When the Sanskrit letters form a word, pada, it becomes an expressed conscious will and an aspect of manifested conscious will. When the Sanskrit words form a sentence, vakya, it's bringing into manifestation the conscious will on several planes of existence as a wave of conscious energies permeating the realms of existence as embodied consciousness in the form of solidified light. All right, so if you notice there in that term vakya, there's the root vak, which is the initial sound. All right, so you'll hopefully that was made apparent to you. Mantra, sabda, is the initial power that brought the all-pervasive mind substance and cosmic energies out of a static state of endless potential, bringing about creation as we know it. This mind substance and cosmic energies, or Shakti power, use the wave of sound vibrations to move into the perpetuated emotion that brought about a chain reaction of modifications. This initial sound vibration creates the sabda waves through the universe, which is absolute sound, unmanifested, and manifested. If some of these terminology is unfamiliar to you or completely unknown to you, I believe in the shared folder, if you look in the description on YouTube, you'll see a link to a shared Google Drive folder. And in that folder, there is a lexicon or a dictionary, sorry, that we put together of some of the common terms that are used in metaphysical and mystic circles, specifically many of the Sanskrit terminology that we use in the classes. And I believe on our mysticknowledge.org website, there is an encyclopedia of terms that are commonly used in mystic circles that you can download as well. What is sabda, or this absolute sound? In the ancient tantric Shakti doctrines, we can see that akasa is noted to be etheric sound and is the carrying agent for all other Shakti tattvic forces. Akasa is the all-pervading force of Shakti, and all manifested Shakti uses Akasha to form and shape all objects, subtle and gross. This sabda is lettered sound and unlettered sound. Lettered sound is composed of words, pada, and sentences, vakya. Such sound as this has deep meaning with a tremendous power of shaping and molding mind substance and cosmic energies. This type of sabda, manifesting as speech, is eternal and springs out as the background power to all things. As John Woodruff, or under his pen name Sir Arthur Avalon, in his book The Serpent Power stated, "It existed before as it exists after. Such manifestation, just as a jar in a dark room which is revealed by a flash of lightning, is not then produced, nor does it cease to exist on its ceasing to be perceived through the disappearance of its manifester, the lightning." This lettered sound as speech can only be considered eternal when it rings from and before its first initial spoken word or components of the initial spoken word that brought forth creation. The Shakti power was brought into active manifestation by sound, and it makes modifications to creation by sound as well. Unlettered sound is the instrument used to bring forth the lettered sound conscious will, or embodied consciousness, jiva. The embodied consciousness is is an involved life stream or an engrossed soul that has positioned itself on the path of evolution to gain thousands of karmic experiences as it throws off its engrossed involved material from life to life. The soul uses this wave of sabda sound power to move to and through involution and evolution. Later on, I will go deeper into this part of mantra sastra knowledge, which is subsequent chapters, which we're not going to go into. In describing the nature of sabda in its various forms of modification that occurs through the all-pervading universal mind substance and the all-pervasive cosmic energies, Shakti, we must examine the potential of this power, the manifested state of this power, and the state of consciousness it leaves from every modification. This wave of sabda is a supreme consciousness. This wave of sabda is the supreme conscious will of the absolute God. It is this para sound that stood as the potential will of the divine architect. The unique ability of this initial para sound, sabda, is its ability to shape and mold the power of universal mind and cosmic energies, which are the main ingredients of creation. Okay. All right, next we'll go into the four aspects of sound. Now let's see. Are there any questions or comments? Again, as I'm reading along this material, feel free to post any questions or comments you have in the chat, and I'll periodically glance over and pose those questions. Right. Let's continue on with the four aspects of sound. Zoom in so you guys can see this illustration. So we're going to look at the four aspects of sound, and we're going to work our way up from the Mulahara up to the throat center as we define each aspect of sound. Pada sound. All right, so sorry. So question here. Yeah, so Vok is the original sound. Is that correct?
It's the initial sound released by the absolute. And it only described the initial sound, but it's not the sound itself. So we are told that the AUM is the word that brought forth creation. So the AUM in the original sound coming from the absolute or God is described as Vak, which is the initial sound of creation. And it's also good. The AUM is known to the universe, but the opposite. There's a sound that goes with the AUM that is not known. So it's like everything has a twin, or a positive aspect and a negative aspect. So to go forth with that, they also speak about Shiva, which represents the absolute uh, on 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 the manifested side and the unmanifested side, which they describe as the creator and the destroyer. And you can look at that as a positive and negative aspect of AUM to further give color or understanding to it. So I hope that explains it.
There's a question here. Let me see if I can. Well, I'll just read it. I won't paraphrase. After I am following, I believe by following he means practicing the 8 limbs of yoga. I'm becoming more conscious of everything, including films, music, manipulative politics, and visual entertainment does not stimulate me anymore. Am I on the right path?
That that happens to everyone who begin to become enlightened on the path. That's just one of the effects. So yes, you should be going down the road, but you have to stay in a humble state in order to continue to learn. A lot of people begin to move in an egotistic type manner, and and blow their chances of gaining greater knowledge. So in other words, you must still stay in the student uh, understanding that you are a student and you're growing. So, and then you will find that greater opportunities and understanding come to you.
Another question here. Does the AUM have all the knowledge of the absolute, or is it just an aspect of it?
So we are told that the AUM uh, within the wave of the AUM is the all knowledge space when you can tap into it, because the AUM is repeated by all the great uh, Maha Bindus or suns, um, solar systems, center suns, galaxies. This AUM is constantly repeated. So when you sync yourself with the AUM, you sync yourself with the Earth, the sun, and the solar system, and eventually the galaxy. But you have to have the capacity to absorb that information within your auric structure, which you cannot do that until you cannot fully do that until you grow and become an avatar on multiple levels. So yes, you begin to understand the all knowledge space within your cosmic capacity, and this constantly grows. And that's why I was saying earlier, you have to humble yourself, because the more you understand, the more knowledge you gain, the more you understand how small you really are. So it positions you to take on more and more information and more knowledge and understanding. So yes, that's true, and then it's not true in a certain level as well. If you can understand what I'm saying. You muted. Yeah.
Okay. I move this over here. Okay. Four aspects of sound, pada sound. The pada sound is a differentiation force, which is a united Shakti force of one consciousness, which moves forward into a Shakti force of many parts before actual manifestation. This pada sound is a motionless, casual sabda, absolute sound power. The pada sound exists within and is a part of the dormant state of Kundalini, a vehicle of consciousness of man within the Muladhara chakra at the base of the spine. The soul uses the power of the logos of earth in order to manifest the power of Kundalini. The soul follows the karmic law, which requires all life streams of this earth must pass through the flame of the logos of earth in order to enter the wheel of rebirth, samsara, on the realms of earth. Pasyanti sound. This aspect of Pada sound that commences to move takes on a conscious power signature of Pasyanti sound. This wave of dormant conscious Sabdi Shakti extends itself from the Muladhara chakra to the Manipura chakra, the navel center to the navel center or solar plexus chakra. This aspect of sound, Sabda, is the first movement of the I consciousness and this consciousness, or the whole consciousness that became many aspects of consciousness. This Shakti sound is a motionless force that represents first movement. It brings universal mind and cosmic energies into active manifestation. This aspect of Sabda consciousness is often described as Ishvara, a name given to a manifested state of modified consciousness that extends from the universal consciousness. Madhyama sound. The third aspect of Sabda consciousness is called Madhyama sound, which is Sabda power that demonstrates the cognitive aspect of mental movement. This initial power of sound consciousness continues its journey by modifying itself from the Pasyanti sound located at the solar plexus center into the heart chakra. The heart center, the Anahata chakra, giving inner meaning to its movement. It is here where the naming of this Sabda power occurs. It is here where this sound power manifests its ability to mold mind and cosmic energy into shapes by forming the subtle bodies of man. This wave of consciousness can be easily seen in the physical body of man. We can actually say that there is a network or matrix of sound that extends from the physical heart in a series of sound vibrations that pumps the oxygenated red blood cells throughout the body while pulling the depleted oxygenated blood cells into the lungs to be oxygenated again. Before this Madhyama sound appears, there is no outer form or object. Then the Supreme Conscious Will, in a manifested state of Pasyanti, modifies itself as the inner Madhyama sound and is projected into the world as sensual experience, which moves forward as the final sound aspect of consciousness, which is Vaikhari sound. Vaikhari sound. The Vaikhari sound is the fourth aspect of sound. This wave of Vaikhari sound represents the gross aspect of consciousness as gross speech and gross physical body. This Sabda Shakti force is located in the throat center, the Shuddha chakra. The Vaikhari Sabda is the corresponding gross aspects of the subtler forms extending from the Madhyama mental configuration. We can see these powerful forces at play in a true analysis of gross spoken speech. Spoken speech is a physical vehicle for thought. Organized thought is a subtler form of sound that resides in the inner subtle realms of man's mind. Coherent gross audible sound that expresses itself with words that make sentences to convey messages outside of the mental framework of your inner thoughts is the vehicle that subtle sound uses to project its subtle forms to the gross realms of existence. Sound represents organized movement. All movement has a point of origin and a destination point. Before the start of this movement, there had to be an idea or concept, which can be considered subtle, motionless movement. Before the thought formation of the manifestation of that idea, Pada sound or the absolute potential of sound. This idea or concept acts as a point of consciousness, a power source of all potential that energizes mind and pranic forces into a definitive form or shape. These energetic mental forms muscle themselves through the wave of the all-pervasive mind substance and cosmic energies, modifying these subtle particles into denser forms of matter, all through the power of sound. Therefore, sound is consciousness, and consciousness is subtle sound expressing itself as mental thought forms. These are the mental thought forms which are the subtle sounds that express itself as audible sound in the form of spoken language, which can be described by words and sentences. Uttered speech is the manifestation of the inner naming of mental thought forms. Okay. And that's it for chapter 7. Are there any questions or comments on the material covered thus far?
This that's ancient knowledge, and it was written down multiple times over the last couple hundred years. But it's interesting to look at that and notice when you compare that their society teachings uh, that came through Dr. George King from the Cosmic Masters, they refer to man or the bodhisattvas or masters that came here as fourth aspect beings. And this describes what a fourth aspect being is when you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's interesting to see Swami Sivananda, who was a fourth aspect being, who was a cosmic master, came from somewhere else. He gave great definition to that. And before him, the Serpent Power book did also as well. So it's just interesting how these ancient teachings that describe this complex, because you could write a book on that alone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something how they describe these things in the manner in which they did, which gives substance to everything we do today. You know, computer, internet. You know, when you look at all those things. You know, they talked about a mind belt. Now the mind belt, we have copied the mind belt by creating the internet. You know, or why,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, but people still dismiss these teachings, and it's very interesting to see how people numb themselves to reality. You know, uh, Swami Vivekananda, way back in the 1800s and early 1900s, stated that you would one day they will have wireless telephones. You know, they will need to run copper wire all over everywhere in order to transmit information, that because he said that the mind belt already exists and
Mm-hmm.
learn how to tap into it. I mean, that's in one of his books. So, but yet they dismiss these people and their their teachings. They also talked about the aura. They even took pictures of the aura at the turn of the last century and talked about the aura, talked about this mind belt around the body, this aura of subtle colors and energies that our body is trapped in. Really, our bodies are trapped in order to form this state of consciousness. And now scientists are beginning to understand that. Although scientists knew that it took 20 cubits of air around the body in order to keep the body alive, If
Hmm.
you reduce the 20 cubits of air, then you were subject to die, which is a part of your aura.
Hmm.
So, but they just can't connect the dots.
There's a question here. As clean as if you're conscious and we need clean to speak. Since Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness and we need Kundalini to speak, would speaking slower be an act of controlling Kundalini?
Everything is an act of controlling Kundalini. The blinking of an eye is an act of controlling Kundalini. Thinking is an act of controlling Kundalini. Moving your fingers is an act of controlling Kundalini. Every movement is done by the power of Kundalini. And yet you're only using a small percentage of your Kundalini uh, power. So uh, that's why when using Kundalini, when trying to control Kundalini, you go through a series of motions and techniques in order to bring Kundalini under control. So what I recommend, or was recommended to me, is the 12 yogas, with Raja Yoga being the great highlight. It's really Nana Yoga, Kama Yoga, Bhatha Yoga, and Raja Yoga are the two great highlights. And Bhatha Yoga is the yoga preparation for Raja Yoga and Kundalini Yoga. So there's like 12 yogas that can lead you down the road of complete control of Kundalini for this lifetime, or this on this earth at least. And we it's too vast of a subject to go into now, but I have went into it many times before. You can go back and look at my other classes, but everything is a product of controlling Kundalini. That's why the first limb of yoga is yama, which is control, and that's control of thoughts and actions. And the second limb is niyama, which is observing God in everything, and that's a form of Nani, Kama, and Bhati yoga combined. So, which is very, very important. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. All right. So, as a reminder for everyone, we looked at this. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
You know,
For the transcript, I had assigned um, for the 21 lessons. Sorry, reviewing of the 21 lessons series. I had assigned some reading for everyone, so I know it's been a while. So let me just put this up really quick. Uh, I had assigned 2 chapters from the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, chapter 5 and chapter 7, which I read for everyone. twice. And I also assigned the 14 lessons in yogi philosophy, a couple of sections, specifically the Constitution of Man, pages 8 and 9, spiritual principles 40 to 43, and spirit 50 to 52. I read those sections previously before we started with the transcript. Um, but rather than just assigning those chapters and sections, I'll be assigning the entire text. And those include the Mercury Behind the Power of Prayer, the 14 lessons, and one more. Let me see. This is our recommended reading catalog. So both the 14 lessons and the advanced course, those will be assigned readings along with the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer. You can pick up the Science of Breath as well, but for the first few classes of the 21 lesson series, you'll have 3 assigned texts to cover. That's 14 lessons advanced course, both by Agam Charaka, available on our website that you can download and read for free. I started the 14 lessons in the study session series. I'll finish it up sometime. But the books are available for you to download, and you have the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer and the Ancient Language of Soul, the mantra book as well, um, available for you to purchase or to listen to on YouTube. The Ancient Language of the Soul and the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, those are 2 textbooks that I will be going over in depth many times over the years. I think later we'll put together a series of courses around those texts and any future texts that Mr. Davis publishes and releases. Um, I think maybe next year I'll present a study series specifically on the ancient language of the soul. So we read it already in a quasi audiobook format, and we had some questions and answers with the author on the book in that study session series. But I think, not I think, I will probably next year do a series specifically on that where we'll go chapter by chapter and take apart each chapter and study the material and do that with the Mystic Power, the Miracle of Prayer book as well, and subsequent texts moving forward. And we'll also continue to review previous lectures given by Mr. Davis um, in their respective playlists on YouTube in the similar RSS format that we're doing now. So again, for the 21 lessons, you have the advanced course of yogi philosophy and the 14 lessons of yogi philosophy by Yogi Charaka. Those are your assigned readings. And you have the Miracle Kit Behind the Power of Prayer, which is available for you to download and purchase or to listen to for free on YouTube. And then once that's it for the assigned, and the next session we will continue on with the transcripts. And I believe I stopped. Where did I stop last time? Okay, at 18 minutes. At 18 minutes into the video of class 1. Wait, is that where I stopped? Or is that where I stopped editing? I don't remember. I'll go back and look. But we'll wherever I left off in that last video, we'll pick up again, or I don't, and then we'll continue with the transcript and we'll do some additional diagrams, additional illustrations, some more questions and answers. Nice books. I think he did one on focus or concentration, which is nice. Are you referring to Yogic Chiraka? Present? I think he did too. He has several books, and I plan to go over all of um, published works of Yogic Chiraka, at least all the ones that we have um, up on the site. Um, and so that you can download those books, you can read them, and we'll study them together. I'll also try and do an audiobook style offering for them, 'cause I know for many people, audiobooks may be easier than physically reading. And so I want to be able to offer that to everyone to help them with their learning styles. And then when we study them, yeah, there are audiobooks on YouTube as well, all those books, so you can find them as well. So whichever way, I think they even have some that are read by an AI generated voice, whichever you prefer. Just by me reading them and recording them, it gives me an excuse to go back and read over the text and study them. So I like doing it for that reason as well, but also to make it available for everyone. And then there's other texts there too. Serpent Power. I do know there is a Serpent Power, a couple of Serpent Power audiobooks on YouTube that you guys can and listen to. I want to do that as well. Just again, an excuse to kind of force me to study and reread the text again. All right. Yes, Serpent Power is a lot of Sanskrit. And so when that's one of the reasons why we went ahead and made the encyclopedia available, as well as another dictionary we put together of common terms. And you'll in the series that Mr. Davis did on the Serpent Power, he does go into definitions and translations, but and as well as present the information in a more digestible, modern way to help us to understand the translation that Sir Arthur Avalon did of those ancient texts. Not to take anything away from the Serpent Power, but like you mentioned, it is a lot of Sanskrit and it can be difficult for modern audiences to follow along. So I do invite everyone to go back if you're interested in Serpent Power, as well as many other texts by Sir William Walker Atkinson, so Arthur Avalon, that you go back and take a look at that playlist, that series on Serpent Power, which is one of our most popular series. And I do plan on covering that series in a similar fashion to what we're doing with the 21 Lessons series um, next year. Hopefully, I'm not taking on too much. Have you guys got the Dayspring of Youth? I'm not familiar with that text. Are you familiar with that book, The Dayspring of Youth? Is that by Sir Arthur Avalon or is that a different author? Let me look it up. The Dayspring of Youth, harness nature's highest energy for health, happiness, and spiritual elevation. No, I have not heard of this book. By M. Is this a channeled book? Uh, sorry, I was reading the book. Sorry. Okay. No, I'm not familiar with this text. I'll take a look at it. All right. All right, so that's all the material I have for today. The floor is open. So any questions or comments you may have doesn't doesn't necessarily have to pertain to what we covered today. It could be any metaphysics or mystics or yogic subject, and we'll be glad to respond to that for you. And if something comes to mind through the questions, I'll look for a handout or illustration, and we'll cover that either from your question or from Mr. Davis's response.
When was that book written?
Uh, Says it was first published in 1931. I don't know if it's a collection of talks or if it's just a complete book. I'm just fishing around right now looking for different.
What was the name of it?
The Dayspring of Youth by M. Let's see if I can find the table of contents.
Yeah, William Walker Atkinson, he wrote a lot of books. And then he had spin-off books, and he used a lot of, he didn't use his name on everything. And the Yogi Publication Society archived a lot of his writings.
Mm-hmm.
But I think his most popular books were the Yogi Ramacharaka books, which he claimed was the two students from Yogi Ramacharaka guided him in writing the books. And you can kind of tell because before that time, a lot of his books were like on crystal gazing and a lot of psychic books.
Mm-hmm.
And then he transitioned into the yoga philosophy books.
Well, that kind of seems to be the pattern, right? They start off with I guess, I don't want to say superficial, but the new age type of stuff, but then slowly find their way to um, more deeper occult science. Let's see, in that channel, I think some people think it was written by Yogi Matraka or someone else in the mystic circles, it is, but who it was is unknown. There's quite a bit. Okay, I think you also one of the writers of the Kabbalion. I have heard of the Kabbalion, but I haven't read the Kabbalion. The question here. That's a pretty good question. Can you tell, or can you tell me something about the difference between mind energy and the brain and how to tap into higher consciousness energy?
Well, you just asked me what is the limbs of yoga. That's how you tap into it. The brain is only an instrument for mind energy.
Yeah.
The same way the body is an instrument for mind energy. And mind energy or consciousness, because you have mind energy, which is when you look on the universal level, is chitta shakti. It's a chitta shakti principle that is a universal shakti, aspect of the universal shakti energy uh, throughout the whole universe. And when, in order to form consciousness, shakti turns into manas, which is consciousness, which is a lower state of consciousness. It creates, it intersect with vital energy, and that vital energy forms a conscious, a localized conscious state. The same way you have your computer and you tap into the Wi-Fi of the internet and you download a lot of information that creates a personality, a profile of who you are. So, so in the ancient teachings, they said you had this chitta shakti, which is a universal mind belt, is out there, and then you have the soul that comes in and pull on this energy and create this manas, which is a bindu or point of consciousness that brings together mind energy and vital energy and creates a matrix that creates consciousness. Now, in order to project that consciousness onto any realm, it creates it creates various instruments, which is the first instrument is an aura, is the auric structure, then the mental bodies, then a formation of Shakti energy or subtle energy, which consists of the Mahabhutas and the pranas. And they configure this in this auric field of consciousness for the soul. And everything else becomes an expression of the soul. And everything after the soul becomes an expression of the mind energy, which is within the auric field of substance. So they create an etheric mind, an etheric brain, astral brain, and a physical brain. And the auric body itself is nothing but a brain. On an auric level, that communicates directly with the soul, which in metaphysical terms, they call it a supra consciousness. And then you have a super consciousness, then you have a subconscious, then you have a conscious mind. So all of them are instruments, and everything is an expression of the soul. Okay, so if you can understand that it sounds complicated, but it's not. But if you want to tap into this, then you have to, as the Lord Patanjali told us, to stop the modifications of mind, which is control your thoughts and actions. And then pull the veil from your eyes and go into Nayama and realize that God, observe God in every action, in every movement, in every substance, in everybody. By doing this, it kill out so many things. It kill out hatred, prejudice, jealousy. Niyama, when you observe God in everything, you begin to respect everyone and realize that everyone's on a journey back to God or the absolute. So everyone is here for a reason to learn a lesson. Even if that lesson is a terrible, disgusting lesson, because they have placed themselves in that position. And by relationship, we have allowed them to do that because we have not been our brother's keeper. So when you come to those, when you get into Nayama, you begin to realize this thing, this unselfish love that is expressed throughout all the galaxies, throughout the whole universe and multiple universes. Because the only thing that holds this universe together is love. It's the love of God. When you can move past that, then you will realize that you have to position yourself to take on this information and knowledge. And that's where the asanas come in the limbs of yoga. The lotus is the seat of power. Is to position your body to receive this great wisdom and knowledge. And you have to train your body to do that. And then the next thing is to appreciate the breath that allows you to pull this vital energy in the body and push it out of the body in order to stimulate the prana or energy that I just described that the soul gave you from the start, that's trapped in the auric body. Because the realization of yama and niyama brings you, and asana brings you to the position to respect the intake and outtake and retention of breath. And then you move into pratyahara, which is, once you begin to understand these things, you can withdraw your senses from the outside world into the mental worlds, into the worlds of the initial consciousness that the soul created for you in order to properly utilize all the bodies, which is the auric body, the mental bodies, the shati bodies, the pranic bodies, the etheric body, the astral body, the physical bodies, and all the realms that they exist on. Then you can begin to concentrate. You begin to understand what concentration is, what contemplation is, and eventually what meditation is. Until you can do that, you won't understand it. You may get glimpse of it and you may play with it a little bit and can do little things, but you'll never really fully understand it. Because we allow all our impurities to hold us down, the impurity traits to anchor us on, in the wrong place, in a superficial way. It's just it's ridiculous what humans do. Really, really ridiculous. They can't see power, intelligence, gracefulness. They can't see these things before them because they like throwing things in categories. When every single person you ever meet is a divine spark of God expressing themselves in the way that they deserve to express themselves. And because of their karmic pattern and your karmic pattern, it's allowed until you say no more. So it's the path, and everything you want is right there before you, but you have to understand it. You have to understand it. So if you stop and follow the limbs of yoga, and understand the 12 yogas that's been given to us for centuries now, then you'll see the pathway. Because in the 8 limbs of yoga, you have the 12 yogas. That's why they call Raja Yoga Roya Yoga. So it's right there. It's simple to understand. Just understand the simple keys, and then as you read and study more, you'll understand the complexity of it. Because the simplicity of it is the key to understanding the complex part of it. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Right, James, I'm gonna pose your question in a minute. I'm gonna get to the follow-up question first. And the follow-up question is, so we have to essentially purify the mind with right thought, right action that is critical first. And so which of the two actions would be quickest to remove verities and purify our aura? Would it be through service to others and selflessness, or trying to achieve a state of meditation in solitude?
What is right thought and action? Right thought and action is service. If you look at if you observe everything around you, everything serves everybody. Nothing can be in existence without serving something else. So the first limb of yoga is yama, which is control the thoughts and actions. The second teaches you how to do that, which is niyama. Once you have brought about some small control through Nani and Kama Yoga, you go into Vata Yoga, and they say observe God in everything. It's the yoga of observance. So a plant and grass grow, and if you are absence of plant and grass and trees, you have no oxygen to breathe. So if you study nature, everything in nature is put here in order to serve a higher purpose than itself. And mankind is failing its duty to reciprocate back to the world. But how do we do that? It's through service. Through right thought and actions, you cannot be selfish, because you will find that you are a servant to a greater cause, to a greater action. And so many yogis, so many masters, so many oracles have said that, hey, if you serve and you continue to serve and you continue to serve God, then in so many lifetimes, you will become a master. You will become a Jesus, a Sri Krishna, Sankachara. You will become these great masters, the great Buddha. You will become these if you continue down the road of service. So right thought and actions is service. In every aspect of service. Service that brings positive results. The greatest yoga is service. The greatest action is service. I hope that answers your question.
And so James has a question on numerology. It says, does Dulcinel numerology make sense? Or is numerology in base 10 for a reason? Dulcinel uses 2 extra numerals and writes 12s as 10. So essentially, Dulcinel numbering is base 12. And it goes from 0 to 9, and then represents 10 as the letter A, and 11 as the letter B, and then number 12 as a 10, a 1 and a 0. And he's asking, does Dulcinel numerology make sense, or is standard numerology in base 10 for a reason?
I gave a lecture on that many years ago. I guess I've been studying numerology for 50 years now. I started studying numerology probably at the age of 10. But the numerology that I studied was from 0 to 9 and 11 and 22 and 33. Those are the sacred numbers that express all numbers, according to some of the greatest numerology people around. Now, I heard of other systems, but the most effective systems that I use, and I know other people use for the last 50 years, is that. Now, some people come and try to change it up, but if you notice, even if you change it up, it always fall back to that. And if it don't, then it's incorrect in some way, and you'll notice it. Because when you get so good at numerology, you can predict what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes. Or you can predict the karmic situation that someone's going to be under within the next 15 minutes, within the next day, within the next month, within the next year, or the next 50 years. Now, their choice of what they're going to do with the mental energy and vital energy available to them at that particular time, do they fall prey to their impurity traits or personality that they have built up the negative personality they built up over the years or lifetimes, or do they forge forward and take advantage of the tremendous opportunity that the great ones have given them through their name, through their position in life, through their birth, through their family ties? And that's the question you have to ask. But numerology is very, very accurate. It's very accurate. So I would, if you email me, I'd give you a series of books that you can follow. That's that I have used for the last 50 years. I hope that answers your question.
All right. So are there any more questions or comments? It says Cal's a comment saying everything in nature, he's quoting, everything in nature does a service to things higher than itself, and men are failing in this area. That's a great way to express service. Let me see if there's any questions or comments that I missed. There's a question here. How important is visualization?
Visualization is an aspect of imagination. And I think in the write-up I just did, that we'll make available for everyone who's been asking for that. Visualization is a sustaining factor for imagination. And visualization is that funnel, or it becomes that protective funnel, or almost instrument for the Bendu of that imagination, in other words, because it pulls on mind and vital energy in order to stay in existence. And it also pull on the love energy, which is one of the four principles of the Shakti power, of the original Shakti power, released by uh, by the absolute, in order to sustain itself in its existence. So that's why when you see imagination, you usually see imagination and visualization, because imagination is the initial creation of that thought form or thought substance. And then visualization is the thing that sustains it in his lifetime. So the power of concentration and contemplation and eventually meditation is very important to that that creative faculty within us. I hope you can understand that. So and it also goes back to the principles of yoga and the principles of the 8 limbs of yoga as well, when you look at it like that. And also the Shakti principles. The Shakti principles and the Mahabindus. So if you study those, the 5 Mahabindus, which are the etheric elements of the universe.
And the follow-up to that, I think you answered that too. Does visualizing while chanting mantra increase its efficiency?
Yeah, yes, it does. It does, and that's one of the feeding factors. That's one of the things. That's one way to feed the visualization. That's a process, and I give the technique for that in the write-up that I did just recently. Well, I did the write-up a long time ago, but I cleaned it up and formatted it and tried to explain it a little better. And as soon as Dwayne do his editing to it, we'll get it out to you all. Just make sure you email us at what's our email address?
Mystic Knowledge Center at gmail.com. So it's all one word, Mystic Knowledge Center.
And we'll send that out to you. But yes, it's proper breathing, it's proper it's the use of mantra, and is positive visualization, and it's mudras that you have to use as well in order to do this. And it may take but that's how you vitalize the visualization, the imagination of visualization. But we go into a detail to show you exactly how to do it.
And
Another way to look at visualization too, let's say you create a design. In order to make sure that design can work in a functional manner, you keep adding more detail to the design, to the explanation of the design, to make sure that it's following all the laws of nature and all the laws of physics. So that's why over time, products get better because it feeds off the environment. So if you create something within you, that visualization has to feed off of you. So the only way it feeds off of you, if you bring in more energy in order to give it life. So if you look at a car that was built in 1922 versus a car here in 2024, 25, then you'll see a vast difference of it, because it was sustained by the environment. We found better ideals, better products. So if you're going to visualize something into being, you have to constantly feed that with mind energy and vital energy and elemental energy. So that's how you got to look at it. Visualization is something that must be constantly fed in order to manifest itself on multiple levels of existence and in a functionable way.
And kind of questions slash discussion going on. So is it possible that smartphone usage, well, I'll just not say small, let's say technology usage could contribute to loss of concentration and imagination? I mean to say, if you overconsume impressions from media and news, this could affect one's ability to imagine.
Is that the answer? Is that the question?
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah, I think so. I think we get lazy because of technology, unless you can rise above it and utilize the technology on a, push it to another level. But I remember back in the 90s when the cell phone first got popular, because the cell phone had been out for many years before that, but only the very rich can utilize it. Uh, but the I remember that we had to keep 100, maybe 200, 300 numbers in our head to be able to call somebody. So if you ask somebody today to write down 100 or 50 phone numbers of the closest people around them, they won't be able to do it. But they did it, 30 years ago. But today you ask them to do it, no, because why? They made room for other, well, I would think most of them did. Well, hopefully they did. They utilized the technology to hold those numbers and made room for more important information. But I think it does weaken the level of concentration. Is interesting. My my wife and I, my wife and I, we ran not-for-profit organizations and we did consulting work for not-for-profit organizations. And just recently, she she went to a workshop of a new group of people that's doing workshops and teaching and consulting work, and she was so disappointed because the way they presented their information to a group of professionals, it was it was uh, it was in a it was on like a fourth or it was on a third or fourth grade presentation, in a sense of professionalism. But but that's where things, because people want to simplify things. When we went to our workshops or we did our workshops, we issued 100-page document to give everybody all the details, you know, 20, 30 years ago. Now they do a workshop and it's a PowerPoint that's bullet pointed down, and you want the real stuff, you have to search the internet or go buy a book or something that may not be what you're looking for. So it's just a different world now. People don't want to concentrate on things. They only want to deal with the things that they really like. And that's why you have a small percentage of people that's leading society. When you look at the computer programs of today, versus the computer programs, 25, 30 years ago. The programs 25, 30 years ago was actually better than the programs today. So, because they have simplified, they dumbed it down to I guess to capture more people, which is good in a sense, but then not good in another sense. So I think it does do something to society as a whole.
Okay. And the question, is it possible that EMF interference from phones affect our auric structure?
Everything affects our work structure. Yes. Now, whether it's in a negative way or a positive way, you have to kind of figure that out. But everything affects our structure. I noticed when I was deep into psychic development back in the 70s and 80s. Uh, I was one of those people that went into the cave, in other words, in a sense where I disassociated with almost everybody I knew. I just plunged into what I was doing and just exercise, did my yoga exercises, my meditation almost every day for hours on end. And one of the things I noticed, I had to stop listening to music. And I had to almost every type of music, I had to gradually reintroduce myself to music because I noticed that certain music really created the varieties in my in my auric structure of my mind. It threw me into grasshopping thoughts. It woke up everything. It woke up past thoughts and had me going in every which direction, and you become sensitive to that over over time as you develop yourself. So yes, everything affects you. Everything affects you. When you come home at the end of the day having to deal with a lot of people, you need to cleanse yourself on multiple levels. you know. So when I say multiple levels, I mean physically, uh, mentally, emotionally, you know, you need to find techniques to help cleanse yourself because all those things affect you.
Yeah, are there any final questions or comments before we close out today's session? President says, yeah, especially music like hard metal. Classical music, not too bad.
Yeah, true. Yes.
Mhm. Let's see. All right, so let us close out today's session reciting the New Lord's Prayer. New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for your kind attendance and participation. Oh, and you are very welcome, everyone, for information that we share. Again, do remember your assigned homework, which are those 3 books. Um, and if you have not already, take a look at the 21 Lessons of Metaphysics, Foundation of Mystic Yogi Teachings playlist, because we will be picking back up the transcript in the next session. For the remainder of July and the beginning of August, I have a couple of certification exams that I'm preparing for and will be taking. So I will be focusing a good portion of my time preparing for that, but I will still try to have everything ready for next Sunday as we go back into the 21 lessons series proper. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at Mystic Knowledge Center, all one word, at gmail.com. I'll be glad to answer those for you. Again, thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Take care.